Right, I've got a box. This is from Kids Ride Shotgun, and this is a seat for going out riding with your kids on your mountain bike. So I will give you a bit of an unboxing, show you what's inside, how to fit it to your bike, and the sun is shining today, so I'll see if my dude, Lucas, wants to go for a ride. Busy as a bee? You're busier than a bee? He's very busy. So there you go. What's this? It's another box. That is a handlebar accessory. Ah, there you go. So that mounts on top of your bars. So that's where the kids hang on. Great thing about these systems is they feel like they're riding as well. They're sat in front of you. So the kid goes in front of you, so they get to see what's going on the trail, but also because they hold on to something like the bars, I actually think it's really good for them learning how to ride, so get to sort of help you steer. I do that quite a lot as well. Ask Lucas to help me out, and he gets super into it, so anything they enjoy doing, I think they're going to do much more of. Right, there is that's the actual seat inside that box, I think. So let's see what you get in here. So designed for use on 26, 27, 5 and 29. Suitable for top tubes 30 to 68mm wide and down tubes 30 to 100mm wide, which is fine. Not suitable for children at under the age of 2 years. So my boy Lucas, what is he? He's almost 4. So he has been riding these, or something similar to this, from about 2.5 probably. So yeah, they've got to be able to hold themselves up. Great thing about these systems, I think, is because the kids are sort of riding in between your arms, you're almost cradling them a little bit. It feels pretty safe. The one thing with these things is, rule number 1 is don't fall off. If you've got your kid on your bike, you've just got to go steady. But saying that, I've always been surprised sort of how kind of technical trails you can ride with these things. What else to say? Using the shotgun seat will reduce the manoeuvrability of your bike. That's my point, I guess. You've got to go fairly steady. Not for racing, stunts, jumps, drop-offs, or advanced trails. Yep, sensible stuff. Right, let's see what comes inside the box. Quick start guide. Ooh, look at this. Proper nice little box of stuff. So I guess that is the seat that they sit on. Yeah, nice and chunky, nice and wide. Looks comfy. You want kids to be comfy, I guess. That can make a big difference to how long they're going to ride for. One thing I know from some experience is definitely in the colder months, you want to try and get some gloves because they're sat up front. Their hands can get pretty cold. Foot pegs, so that sort of knurled edges on those. Nice and grippy, so don't know exactly how this all mounts just yet. I think what I'll do is I'll pull everything out, then I'll read the instructions. Sound like a sensible plan? So that is the sort of clamping system. What else? We've got spanners. Oh, nice. Got some spanners up there, don't you? And an Allen key. So that's 6mm Allen keys. So that's everything in there. Let's take a look at the instructions. Foot pegs under there, I guess. Oh, these are the straps as well. So you can see straps around the feet to keep them on. Not using actually that handlebar accessory on that picture, but they are on that. So that's a bit of a sort of added extra for the next generation of mountain bikers. Loving it. I know from experience, Lucas absolutely loves going out on bike rides with these things. All pretty standard stuff in here, especially if you're quite an experienced mountain biker, you know most of these things already. Thinking about checking your bike over, make sure your bike's not gonna cause an issue, maybe help cause you to fall off. Make sure you follow the fitting instructions, wear an approved helmet, appropriate clothing. So that's for kids as well. I know making sure they've got proper shoes on can make a big difference. You don't want to take them out wearing sandals on this, just the more protection they've got, the better really. Riding with both hands, yeah, both of you ride with both hands. I can tell you from experience of that one, I did try and ride no-handed with Lucas doing the steering. Don't try and do it. It's proper dangerous because he'll steer a little bit and you'll lose your balance. So not a good idea. Don't do what I did. Ride with care. We already said that. You know, you don't be doing big jumps and stuff with this on there. I think that's it. All pretty sensible stuff. If you're a parent, you should know, how to look after your child. Another thing I will say is Don't leave them sat on the bike and just park your bike up somewhere, because if they move around and bike falls over, that wouldn't be good. Right, let's look at the fitting instructions. So there's your stuff in the box. Quick start, you've got the handlebar accessory that's separate. Seat, actually on there it says maximum weight of 22 kilos or 48 pounds. That's pretty big, I think. You've got your mounting system that goes around top tube and down tube. You've got your foot pegs with straps and the tools sorted out. Right, so I'm gonna fit the shotgun to my nuke-proof reactor. It's a carbon frame, suits both. Aluminium and carbon's fine, or steel, whatever. And it's top tube, so this measures about 60 mil. So the shotgun fits 30 up to 68. Down tube is more like 70 mil on this. And again, it fits from 30 up to 100. So I'm guessing that's gonna fit almost any bike. Right, step one is to grab your sort of mounting part and undo the bolt situated in the top that goes underneath the seat. And then slide it apart. Slide it up and over the top. Now you want this between 200 and 300 mil away from your stem, depending on the size of your child and the shape of your frame. So I'm gonna go for about 250-ish, I reckon, because my boy Lucas is, yeah, he's almost 4, so he's getting big. It's not getting in the way of my shock or my water bottle or anything, so that looks fine to me. The next job is to get your 8mm spanner that is supplied and undo these 4 nuts on the side, and then you basically want to position these plates nicely over your bike. Again, so it's not interfering with anything, any cables or anything like that. I'm going to slide them forward a little bit. Line them up. So I position these sort of swing arms like that, so they're not sticking out too far. So you do need to be careful with your front wheel, especially with a suspension fork. When it compresses in, it's going to get, you know, fairly close to the foot peg, so you don't want that hitting. Right, tighten them back up. Once you've sorted the angle of those arms on the side so that it clears the front wheel but gets enough clearance to get a bolt underneath, then all you do is squeeze these top mounts together and then you tighten back up that seat mount so that when the seat goes on there, it doesn't move. Everything as well that is touching the bike has got like these big rubber protective things on them, so you know, there'll be no chance of damaging your bike. There's nothing hard actually touching your bike at all. Now that you've got the shotgun mounted on the bike, it's actually tight already. With that pushed in and that bit tightened up, it's not moving at all, so nice and snug. Next is to fit the axle and the foot pegs. First step is to take the pegs off. They just spin off nice and easy. And you need to leave, there's 2 sort of lock nuts, leave them in the middle of this threaded bar. And now you want to get this bit in between these 2 swing arms. You need to pry them apart slightly. You need to thread one way then the other a little bit. And this now needs to just go under there. So actually fitting that threaded bar underneath, I realised that I'm going to have to reposition this slightly because it's just hitting my down tube. So I'm going to undo the nuts and bolts and just basically, I can either slide it a bit further forward or adjust the angle of the bars. What I'm going to do is slide it, I don't know, probably only 5mm forward, tighten everything back up and then move on to the next step. Right, now to fit the foot pegs, and the first thing you do is to fit these little rubber stirrups, almost dropped. So on the side with you can see the thread, that's the inner side. So you just pull that over, there's a nice little groove for that to sit in. And then you've got 2 different sizes here for size of feet. Basically same thing, so just pull it over and it goes into the groove. And now you're ready to just spin that foot peg onto that threaded bar. So this is quite an important part because you need to really look at this part of the fitment of the nuts to make sure that you don't damage the frame basically. So first thing to do is just to screw them on so they just hit the edge of these swing arms. So now that the foot pegs are just touching that swing arm gently, you do the same with the nuts. So you wind them up to the back of it, again, just by hand. So it's just touching, and then it's time to firmly tighten up the foot pegs. Next job is just to fit this quick release that goes in the middle. Again, you've got loads of adjustment here depending on your type of bike. What have I got on? 2 holes down for mine. It gives me plenty of space to not touch anything, and just wind that in and tighten it up. So that's now fitted super firm to the bike. Next job, to fit the seat. And you just stick it on, and now you can tighten it up with your spanner and adjust the angle of this according to your top tube, I suppose. Okay, I'm just going to tip the nose down ever so slightly on this. So I just need to undo the nuts and then literally push it down. What do you think? Maybe a bit more. It's good to me. Let's crank it up. So that's the initial setup done. You're ready to ride now, basically. Kid jumps on there, feet goes in the stirrups, you adjust those to the size of their feet, and then they can just hold on to your bars. Carbon bars, absolutely fine. You'll find that they're sort of nice and not warm, but they aren't cold. If you've got alloy bars, you might find in colder conditions they're pretty cold for the kids to hold on to. So in that case, you might be worth thinking about wrapping them with something, or getting this added extra, the handlebar accessory. I'll have a look at that in a second, but we've done the initial setup, super easy. Thing to remember for sort of everyday use of this, it's much easier than that. All you need to do is take this quick release out, undo these pegs, and that will come straight off. So super easy to go on and off the bike once you've done that initial setup. Right, for the handlebar accessories, you can basically see it's just like a second set of bars above yours, so the kids just hang on to that and no cables or anything in the way. Mounts, well, it fits on 25.4, 31.8 and 35mm bars, so that's all mounted by size bars, I believe. Right, what do you get in the box? So that's everything. There you go, simple set of bars. You've got like there is a hinged opening there, so you don't have to slide anything on off your bars. You just swing that open, mount it on, and you've got rubber bits here to make them fit your bar, plus a handy little Allen key. Is, was that 2.5mm? So you just spin these bolts out of there, and for 35mm bars you don't need any of these sleeves. For the old school 25.4 you need the thick ones, they're quite thick, but for mine 31.8 you've got these sort of thinner ones, and basically these just fit inside the clamps. So that's it, super simple. They just go around there. I will actually have to make these a little bit wider just to clear my stem. Hold on.
I'm gonna go up one. Are we going this bike? No.
It's a good idea to run flat pedals with a shotgun because it's just easier for getting on and off and getting going. Also a dropper post or a low fixed post, just so you can sit over the bike when you're lifting your kid on and off. Another thing to remember is the kids can't fall asleep on these seats. They're much different to the seats on the back where kids can sit back and relax and not have any fun, to be fair. So up front, they're part of the ride, they enjoy it, but you've got to plan your ride around nap times. The shotgun is for kids aged 2 to 5 years old and it's available worldwide.